Welcome, everyone. We are live. Oh, see, I see you, honey. We are live today. Know your nature. Know your nature. Why? You see, when you know your nature, now you can magnify your output, your potential, all those things. Let me give you an example. I follow this young lady on YouTube, Curly Chemist, and she does stuff for black hair, right? She went to school and she knows how this chemical works or how this oil works, what this oil does. And that's how she builds her formulas to either soften your hair. If I say to her, my hair is so tight, she goes, well, if you put this and this together, it'll relax it and it's easier to comb. Uh, I'm like, how does she know these things? You see, when you know the nature of a thing, you can get the best out of it. But why would you want the best out of something? Well, so you can be the best. That's why. This is also why I mentioned Dr. Joseph Murphy. He was also a chemist, a pharmacist. And so if you said anything to him like, oh, I've got this ache, I've got this, he knew what compounds to put together to get rid of whatever you were dealing with. But in order for him to be able to tell you what to use, he had to know what the nature of those things are. For you and I, we, to know who and what we are, you need to know the nature of your mind. This is the whole purpose here. Know the nature of your mind so you can get the best out of it. How does the mind work? Well, it thinks, for one. It always is going to think. That's the purpose of the brain. It thinks, it computes, it takes in information. But then when it takes it in, what does it do with it? Right? How does it stay? Does it stay? Does it come out? What does it do? These are the things that you learn so that you can magnify your output as a person. And when you learn how the brain works, it stores information. And if you want the information to come out of it, you have to remember something so that you can use it. This is what it's doing day in and day out, right? We think, oh, yeah, well, my heartbeat's just beating all on its own. It's regulated. Your breathing is regulated. Blood pressure regulated by which part? The unconscious part. Can you imagine if you had to consciously regulate your blood pressure? Think about how quickly we fly off the handle sometimes. Nah, it just, as long as you have a particular mood, the body responds. So when you learn that the body responds to what you tell it, well, then now you can make the body do something optimally based upon you and your focused attention. These things don't just happen haphazardly or randomly. They don't. But if you don't know that they're happening in the background, well, we do know that they're happening, but we don't know. Paradox. We know that they're happening because we're alive and we're breathing and our blood pressure is where it is. Right? We rest and digest. We know it's happening, but we don't know it's happening because we don't think we have influence over it. So when you learn the nature of your mind, now you can get the best out of your performance. And here's the beautiful thing. The body always takes direction. So if it is not taking direction from you, it is taking direction from someone else because it has to take direction. That is its nature. Let me give you another example. I've given you the fire example before. Let's give you an electrician, for instance. What do they know the nature of? electricity. Why would they need to know the nature of electricity? So they don't die. Not only that, but because when they go in and there's a problem and they open up the panel, when they look at it, because they know the nature of how electricity flows, they can look at that panel and tell you, oh, based upon the problem you're having, they can look at it and tell you, I see your problem. Because they know the nature of electricity. They had to learn it. So don't take for granted learning. In order to comprehend how you're going to use something, you have to learn the nature of that thing. You think Gordon Ramsay doesn't know the nature of steak? What happens when you heat it and when you heat it too much? Or if you don't heat it enough? We call it a science. Well, cooking is understanding the nature of your ingredients. How to make your souffle perfect, you have to understand the nature of a souffle. But here we walk around and we don't even understand the nature of the world itself. Oh, but that's just too much to learn. Florence Scovel Shinn says, life is a game. There's going to be I think it's on, is it Wednesday? When we learn a scripture. I'll be going deeper in detail about this topic, knowing the nature of something and the nature of yourself to maximize your own output. But today it's just for the fact of when you're going to work, an accountant knows the nature of what? Numbers. They can tell you if they transposed a number by accident, especially if they don't balance. There's a thing, I don't even remember the formula, but I know that that's what they can do because they know numbers. Well, then, the world that we live in has a nature. Learn the nature, and you will know how to use something more efficiently, using the nature of yourself. What do you like? Do you fly off the handle quick? Are you easygoing? Are you cowardly? What? Know your nature. Because when you know your nature, you can modify, you can change your nature to change your life and your experiences. You don't have to remain the same. But if you don't know that your nature is to change and that you can change for the betterment of yourself, well, you'll continue as you are. And you'll say, but the world is against me. There is no one against you. It's just that you don't know the nature of yourself. What are your moods? What are your habits? That is called learning the nature of yourself so that when you get up and go out into the world, you can maximize your potential. Everybody has potential. Potential is just stored energy to make something happen, in layman's terms, I suppose. Everybody has potential. But for the ones that use their potential, it's because they know. The ones that don't use their potential, they either don't know or they are afraid. But each and every one of us has the ability and the capacity, potential, to do something in the world. So if you get up and you know that you've got a good memory, well, what good is it? Well, what does a good memory do? What purpose does it serve? Find that out. The ability to recall information, but not just to recall it, but to apply it quickly. Hello. Now we can do something with it. Implement it, use it. What if you're great with numbers, great with words? Get up and use those things. You don't grudge what you've learned along the way because you may have heard, there's no purpose in that. What are you going to do? That doesn't make any money. What? It means you're not imaginative if you're going to think that way along with somebody else. Learn how to use what you have. Learn how to use what you have. You learned it. Don't throw it away. Use it to maximize your output, your potential. But if you sit there and look at the thing that you learned along the way and you say, well, well, that thing hurt me. I don't want to use it. You know why? You walk in the hurt because you're not seeing it differently. Oh, here's scripture for us this morning. Romans 8:28. All things work together for good. For good. So whatever that thing is that may have been that may have hurt you in the past, learn how to transmute. Learn how to change the energy from pain to benefit. Because there's a skill that was learned in that pain. Now here's the thing. That pain, right? If we are not careful, we could use that pain to harm others. Well, look at the world. If I hurt, you're going to hurt with me. But what if you looked at that and go, okay, look, I know that hurt me, but I'm going to transmute that. There's something in there that I learned. Now I want to use it for the betterment, not just of myself, but anybody who comes into contact with me. We're all going to benefit from this thing. And you flip it. You turn the energy around and you use it. Why? Because you know the nature of it. What's that nature in there? You learned something. You learned something. Can it benefit you? Yes, it can. So turn it around and use it to benefit instead of using it to harm. It is energy either way you look at it, but where's it going to bring you the most benefit in your life? Turn it around as a benefit. All things work together for good. They do. But you have to see the good in order to get the good out of it. This is why if you know the way the mind works and the way memory is recalled, you'll be able to help yourself. Instead of allowing that memory to come up and cause you pain, when you bring up that memory, revise. How did you want it to go instead? What would you have preferred instead to happen? And when you do that, oh my friend, the memory it's already there. You've already experienced it in the past. It's been laid down in the brain. But what you're now doing is removing the pain from it and putting in a new thing so that when you experience that memory again, you don't bring up the sting and the pain of it. You bring up the what? The new way you want it to go. So now you act differently. That's what you're doing with revision. Remember that always. So you're changing it. You're transmuting what was once painful into what is now beneficial. That's what we're doing day in and day out. Remember that you have this capacity, but that comes with knowing your nature. You, who are you? What do you like? What don't you like? Why do you like it? Right? This is the thing. If we would take a moment to learn those things about ourselves, we would understand that emotions don't tell us how to behave. They tell us what we believe. And then we decide, oh, I don't like that attitude. Come on now, Angela, this is not the way to be. And then I tell myself, how do you want to be instead? And you change what that emotion is showing you about yourself so you can be better. It has nothing to do with your neighbor. It has everything to do with you. It is the self, you, your output. That's what it is. Get the best out of yourself at all times. But you don't throw anything away. You transmute it. You change it. From if it was painful, no, change it, see it differently. How are you going to change it? Remember that everything brings life. Well, all things work together for good. If you can remember that, It doesn't matter what it is that you've gone through, change it by revising it. You have a memory. That memory is now attached to a behavior. And the next time you have that memory, how do you want to behave? Well, that's how you revise it. You put in the new memory that you want to have instead. So that when that memory comes up, it doesn't come up and slap you and go, nah, you can't do anything. No, you change that around. You say, no, I can do all things. I'm using everything at my disposal to benefit me, to further myself. Because if you look at the beauty of it, right? You change it around and you further and better yourself. It doesn't matter who you come into contact with. Now we all benefit from that. Well, how do you know? Look at the pain that some of us walk around in. It inflicts pain on others just because they're there. So it is going to serve you better to transmute that harmful thing into something that is more beneficial for you. Because now the rest of the people we come into contact with, it benefits them also indirectly. That is the purpose of knowing your nature, so that you can always be better. You're never going to be victim of anything ever again. If you can look at something and go, I can rework that. I can repurpose that. You know those people who go dumpster diving for like old furniture? One man's trash is another man's treasure. They look at that piece of furniture that's all, discombobulated, and they do what? They sand it down. They varnish it. They put all these designs on it. And then all of a sudden, you've got this antique worth a fortune. What's that show? It used to be on PBS. Antiques Roadshow. People wanted to throw away things, and then they got it appraised, and it's like, what? It's worth thousands of dollars. You see? Don't for one moment think that because you have a memory that may appear to be harmful, don't think for one moment that you're stuck with that. Learn how to revise that memory. What you're doing with the revision is changing your old behavior that is associated with that memory, so that when that memory arises again, you are not behaving in the old way, but you are now behaving in the new way, where you say, this can benefit me good over here. Everything has a purpose and it has value, but that means you have to see the purpose and you have to see the value in it. Because if you go ahead, Coach.
I'm so happy you brought up the seeing the value, because I remember my grandma told me one time when my uncle had said, one man's trash is another man's treasure. My grandma said, well, sometimes if it's trash, it's trash. Leave it like this. So you can't transfer that all the time into, spirituality with people, because if a person is trash, you know what I'm saying, you gotta let them get their own self out of the trash. Don't try to fix them up, because all you're gonna do is pull your battery down. So don't do it.
Now, I am glad you said that. I'm very glad that you said that. Our ability to bear our brother's burdens is a good thing. And it doesn't mean, like you said, to drag your battery down. That's not what it means. It means when you see someone and they're struggling, right? You can't help them. Not on the outside. Silver and gold have I not, but such as I have, I give unto you. What does that mean? It means you see that they're struggling. You can see it clearly with your eyes that they're struggling. Well, now see with your spirit their freedom. All you have to do is see it in your mind, their freedom. That's all you have to do, because it's all you can do. And when you see their freedom, see it and you project it towards them. And you know what? If they, where two or more are gathered in my name, if they want freedom, they will see what you projected to them. You don't have to go out there and pick up somebody and dust them off every day, because as Coach said, you'll drain yourself. But the way to not drain yourself is to see the good in that person. Wherever you see them struggling, if they're broke, see them as gainfully employed. And if that's what they want for themselves, they will accomplish it. That's how we help each other. That's why I tell you, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Everybody has the potential. But if we see it in them, see it for them. That's how you can help, because I know exactly what coach is saying when he says that can drain you. Yes, it can, if you think that you can go out there and save everybody. That's not what you're called to do in that aspect. You're called to see the best in people so that they can see it for themselves. Only see it. See it. So if you see that they're sad, see them as happy. See them with joy. See it in your mind's eye. And remember, it doesn't stay within your mind's eye, it goes towards them. And if that is what they want for themselves, they will also become it. That is how you can bear one another's burdens, by seeing each other at the best. And it's not, you don't have to go out of your way to do it. It's the one you see as you pass by them. You see the homeless, you don't know why they're homeless. You don't know. I don't know. But presume that they don't want to be. So if they don't want to be homeless, what do they want? They want proper shelter. Well, then see it in your mind's eye. Because what do we do when we walk by them? How you get this way? See, we judge. But that's why that scripture, silver and gold have I not, but such as I have, I give unto you. I'm not Onassis. If you don't know who he is, well, right? I'm not them. But what do I know? I know the nature of the mind. I know that if I see you at your best, that's all I need to do. And if you want to become your best, you will accept it. That's
and
what we do.
Another thing I wanted to say, you don't
Go
want to
ahead.
block. You don't want to block people's blessings by helping them out all the time, because they'll never learn anything. Like, think about it. If you have a little kid and there's a stove and you keep telling the kid, don't touch that, they should automatically, on their own sense, after you tell them 1 or 2 times not to touch it. And then when they do get, curious and touch it anyway, they're going to learn their lesson not to touch it anymore. And you have to let that happen sometimes. It's just what it is. We don't want them getting hurt, but if we keep blocking them from, them learning their lesson by getting hurt, they'll never learn it. And it can happen with something worse than that now. So I'm just saying, it's the same way with stopping people. If somebody is not paying their bills every month, and every month you coming in and helping them out pay their bills, now you made basically a crutch.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even helping them anymore. What you're doing is you're helping them become lazy and not do for themselves. And that goes for parents.
Yes, it does. And that's because we always want to be physical. Huh? Like you said, you're paying their bills every month. We want to be physical, but we can't. What is the first principle of creation? The universe is mental. Help each other mentally is how we do it. Now you're not being a crutch when you help each other mentally. But I feel you, coach, because it is true. We do it, and we because we have that soft spot. But the soft spot, use that soft spot to see the person mentally at their best. And if that is what and if you see that they don't have discernment, right? They'd rather go do something else with their money, and they don't have discernment, see them with discernment so they make the right choice. Mm-hmm.
Sure will, because I look at it like this. These are some of the tactics I tell my clients when I'm coaching, right? I say, look, when it comes to your kids, don't do everything for them. If you want to work on yourself, just do half. Don't even tell them you're going to do half. Just see if they willing to get out there and put the work in. Once they get up what they need and they spend that bread and they feeling like, God, I ain't got no money now, that's when you give them that half that you were going to contribute. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's a learning also for yourself, so you don't find yourself doing that all the time, because eventually you're going to have that half and you're like, nah, mom or dad, I don't need that. Go ahead and put that up, or go out and have some lunch or a vacation, whatever amount of the money is, you know what I'm saying? But that do it, it's all in training. If you train them that way, I guarantee you'll never have kids that are like leeches. But we got to get that mentality changed up in the parents first, so our kids don't be out here feeling like the world everything belongs to them for doing nothing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
The work do belong to you, but it's the work you put in first to get the world. You know what I mean?
You're exactly correct. And it is a beautiful thing. And that is why, if you know your nature, you can maximize your potential and your output and change your world. Know how something works. A mechanic knows the nature of what? Any engine. My dad is awesome like that. If he hears something, he's like, ooh, he can tell you exactly what that thing is. And he'll tell you how to fix it because he spent all his time doing that as a young man, a heavy duty mechanic. So he knows the nature of any engine. He knows the nature. See, because when you know the nature of something, you can get the best out of it. That's why you got to know you first. You. What is your nature? You see, all humanity has the same nature: to survive and to be comfortable, safe. That's the base. But now there's stuff that's built on top of that, right? Learn who you are, comprehend who you are, why you act the way you do. If you don't know why you behave in a particular way, I can promise you, anybody worth their salt who is watching you, they'll know, and you'll become predictable. And when you become predictable, especially when you don't know, but they know they can see it, well, it can be used. Oh, yes, it can. This is why it pays to watch and observe your children, because you're learning who they are. You're learning who and what they are, but don't forget they're watching and learning who you are, right? Learn your nature. Learn and comprehend why you behave the way that you do. And when you see it, and if you don't like it, revise it, because it is attached to a memory. That memory, every time it comes up, you behave the same way. If you want to change that behavior that you can see, catch it, because you'll see the behavior before you know that the memory is there, because it happens so quickly.
You know what? It's so powerful knowing your nature. Mm-hmm. Because when somebody tries to label you as something that you're not, it literally just rolls off your back. It's like somebody saying, "Oh, hey, you are a green man." Like, I know that I'm not a green man, So when people try to insult you or tell you where you're headed, or they misinterpret something that you're saying, you literally just have a zen like peace. It's like, why would I react to something that I know isn't true? Another thing is that a lot of us have so many hidden parts of ourselves that we tend to be at a state of dis-ease. And just because it hasn't manifested as something critical, it may be just something mental that you need to understand. The reason why you have this anxiety, or the reason why you have, the depression, is because you're not actually being yourself. You're just conforming to the world.
I love that you said that, because it's so true. These things, and that's why I always say they're visible, but yet they're invisible. They're visible because you can see that you're doing it. You know that you're doing it because you're like, oh, why do I do this? But they're invisible because you don't know that you're doing it. It's just something you've always done for a certain amount of time. So that seems to be the paradox. So that's why if you catch it, you'll see the hidden thing. I love that you said that, Marquise, because it is true. When you
getting on what Marquise said,
go ahead.
Like, when you think about it, how people will try to label you something, right? You should, although an argument is not about winning, but you should already know that you're out of their league once they get to the point of trying to, label you something or start trying to attack you instead of staying on the subject matter. You should automatically know, like, they've lost that argument already. And it's not even about winning or losing. It's just trying to get a point across and making sure that it's factual. You get what I'm saying?
Indeed. Indeed. And that is why, if we take the time to get to know our nature, which is yourself, get to know yourself. Think about this for a minute. Most of us, if we get a new pet, we don't just go out and get something. We learn the nature of the thing we want to get. How does a budgie act? How does a boa or a python act? Don't bring no boas and pythons in my house. But, if you want a gecko, something like that, you learn its nature. What does it do? What does it not do? Those kinds of things. If we look at what we do, we have the wherewithal to go and research the kind of car that we want. Why? Because what do you think gas mileage is? The nature of that vehicle. We go out and we do those things for other things, but sometimes we don't do it for ourselves. We'll learn the nature of any other thing in the world. This car, this job, this animal. But the one with the nature that matters the most is you. Learn your nature. And when you learn your nature, now you can begin to hone and mold and shape yourself into becoming your ideal person, not for the sake of somebody else, but you do it because you look in the mirror and you go, oh, I could do that better. I could do this better. You know what? Let me lean off of this one a little bit. And you tweak and you shape yourself. And then what happens? You're your greatest self. But it's a day-to-day thing. So take your time with it. But once you know your nature, you will, because Marquise said it, you'll have that peace of mind. Things just roll right off your back because you know who you are. You know, nothing comes along and shakes you because you're firmly rooted and anchored. That's the beauty. And so now we say we want to get to we're not gonna digress too much, but I'm gonna say it because I have to. We want to get to know God, allegedly, but in order to get to know God, where's the nature of God? Look around you and you'll see it. That's what these laws are. They give you a snippet because it's knowable yet unknowable. It's just like if you learn about someone, you're just learning about them. You're knowing of them. You don't know them. You just know of them. So they're still unknowable to you, right? But you're learning about them. So if you want to know the nature, this is why it says if you know yourself, you'll know God. Just just something to ponder. So today as we go about our day, take some time to learn your nature, your likes, your dislikes. We want to build our ideal relationship without knowing who we are. When in actuality, we're recreating ourselves day in and day out. So if you don't see those hidden things about yourself, I can guarantee you're going to see them in the other person that you. Why? They have to show up. You have to see the evidence of your inner conversations. That's why, if you're building your ideal relationship, who's the foundation for that? Who's the blueprint for that? You. How are you going to say, I want long walks on the beach? Just because you want to be romantic, but you don't even like the beach. You don't like the feel of sand in your toes. Hello, you're going to be frustrated in that relationship. That's why you build upon who and what you are to bring about your ideal experiences in the world. That is your encouragement today. That is your encouragement today. Learn your nature so you can maximize who and what you are, always for the betterment of you. And then what happens is, well, we share and share alike. You share what you are with the world. You just end up doing that. And once you have gotten yourself to a point where you're your most beautiful self, well, what happens? You share that with the world. And think about it. If all 13 and 7 and 2 of us do that individually, I wonder what kind of world we would make. Let me ponder that. See? So everything starts from the inside out. When that seed, it looks like the seed is on the outside. Yes, it is. But the seed contains something within it. And that is what comes out. It is the law of correspondence. As within, so without. So whatever you develop within yourself does not remain inside. It has to come out of you. So take the time to develop, comprehend your nature so that you know what you are putting forth into the world. That is the purpose of knowing your own nature, so that you know the type of fruit you are bearing on a daily basis. They'll know you by your fruit. And that scripture says that what's the fruit of the Spirit? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, and self-control. Those are the fruits of the Spirit. So if you know that those are the fruits of the Spirit, begin to plant the seed of the Spirit within you so you can bring forth those kinds of fruit in your life. Learn your nature. So that if you say, I don't like this about myself, well then what kind of seed mentally must you plant? And that's how you'll bring about the fruit in your life physically. It is always mental first, and then it takes shape and form physically. But without that mental seed, if you don't plant a new mental seed, you will continue to plant and harvest the old way of being. So know your nature so you can modify and bring about your best self all day, every day, because we have it. We have it. And don't look back and go, oh, well, that was the worst thing that happened to me. No, remember, change your perspective on the thing that happened to you. Look at it. Because that memory that you go back to often will cause you to continually behave the same way. But if you go back into that memory and go, wait, I want to behave this way instead, start to do that then. So that every time that old memory comes up, it will encounter new behavior and you will have changed your life that way.
Because you know the truth, and the truth is that it didn't happen to you. It happened for you.
Thank you. Right? What is that? That is transmutation 101. Transmutation, Angela? Yes. You're changing your perspective. And instead of saying it happened to me, you say it happened for. Why? Because if you know something happened for you, you will use it to your benefit. And it will become an arrow in your quiver. It will become a tool in your toolbox instead of a stumbling block in your world.
And you know what? One more thing, right?
Go ahead, Marquis.
Even the word "me" is it's adverse to your nature, because you're not a me. You're I am. You're a being. So the moment you say "me," it almost puts you in a weaker state already.
There you go. I am. That's your power. I am. I am. You're so correct. Because it is the I am that is within the me, your body. The I am is within. And it, I am, is what we always seek to know the nature of. That's the true self. That's why Marquise is telling you it happened for, not to. That's why he's telling you, me? When somebody knocks on the door, who is it? Me. That's the body. But what powers the body? What moves the body? I am. So if we live from there, That's why it's so important to know your nature. I am. You know your nature? Like he says, you take yourself from victim because you're not a victim. You're I am. That's the beauty of knowing one's self. What is within? Get to know that. That part. This is why I love you all. This is exactly why I love you all. You show up every day and you learn, but you don't just learn. You apply what you learn. That's why when people say to me, Angela, you changed my life, I'm like, not really. Because all I did was tell you something. That's 5%. Where's the other 95% coming from? The one who applied it. So who changed their life? You did. That is your power. Not just to hear, but to apply. And that's the thing. People can say things, can't they? People can come along and say anything they want to. But it is in the application or the testing of a thing that will prove it to you. So if you do something and you realize, oh my God, I changed. Now you know what you're capable of doing. Now you're learning the self and what it is capable of. That is the beauty of what we've been given on a daily basis here. So today, be reminded, all things work together for good. Good, they work for good, Marquise. They work for good, not too good, for good. That's what it is. They work together for your good, my good. So use them for good. Because that's what they work together for. Good. That's the seed. Good. So the fruit has to be good. Let me get the bowl. You guys are absolutely amazing. Today at noon, we're talking about current events, the law, and you. How the law is being used in current events, and how to use the law to counter or protect yourself. Noon Eastern Standard Time on Fanbase. If you're not on Fanbase, that's okay. We learn the law every day. I won't do the countdown just yet. Tanya, I know you still remain on Twitter. I see you, sweetie. And the others, they had to go, but I see them too. Thank you for being here. Who's here on Facebook and YouTube this morning? Asanya, Goddess Pure Diamond, Marjorie, Sugar Visions, The Better Man, Cyber, Anot, Joaquim. And Indy, on Facebook, I see you. Who's on Fanbase this morning? Yolanda Marquise, Oracle Treehouse, My Melanin, Afternoon Delight, Malik is here, KZ, Miss McQueen, Flo Smiles. Hello, Mr. Price. I see you. I know I did see Summer Rose. I saw her for a moment. That's everybody who was here this morning. I didn't forget y'all because I'm watching your names as I talk to you and I see you here. But now we can initiate the countdown because we're all here. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Much love to you all. YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, indeed.